And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I am your host, Wes Tankersley. Today, my guest is Matt Lambert and Brandi Wolf. Matt and Brandi are what I'd like to call serial entrepreneurs. They have a couple businesses that they run. They run 2 magazines together. But before we get to that interview, let's go ahead and hear a word from our sponsor.
Check out the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, where I interview guests that will teach, motivate, and inspire you to stop at nothing to achieve your dreams.
All right. Thanks to our great sponsors and being sponsors of the show, helping us continue to grow. Matt and Brandi, it's great to have you on here. You guys have a podcast on the TVPBN network, which we are on right now, called the Idaho Spud Show, featured with Discover Idaho. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? This is the first time I've had 2 guests on at the same time, so you're going to have to take turns. I hope you can do that without starting a fight in your own house.
So I'm Matt Lambert. I'm from Arizona originally. That's where I met this one. We were both working at a restaurant there in Scottsdale. My background is in the culinary industry, basically working in kitchens, and I was an aspiring chef at one point, but that kind of fell away from me. But nonetheless, we were working there together and fell in love and got married, and that restaurant didn't make it, unfortunately for them, but I think they opened I always tell people that they opened just for us, you know. We've got the 2 magazines, you know, we're doing a t-shirt we launched, a bunch of different things. We're doing the podcast too. That's me right now. I love music. I write. I rap. I love dancing. I've been, you know, building upon my dance move repertoire lately and trying to learn some cool moves and using that hopefully in our marketing for the clothing line that we're doing. So,
yeah. And Brandi, you're from Utah, correct? So you ended up in Arizona?
So I'm from Utah. I moved here to Idaho in 96, 7 time frame in the winter time. And then I moved to Arizona for a few years, met my hubba, and then we moved back. So yeah, I've kind of lived in all 3 places. I've lived in Idaho. Well, I lived in Utah for 24 years. So if I would have stayed in Idaho, then I would have lived here about the same amount of time. But now I've just kind of split that time between Arizona and Idaho. So yeah, but Idaho's a great state. It's a beautiful place, fun place to live, and beautiful country, and great place to start a business.
So what made you want to come back from Arizona to Idaho? Was it the heat? Because I was just down there. It was a little warm, but was there something that drew you back to the Treasure Valley?
There was. So where we were at in southern Arizona, not all of Arizona is like this, but southern Arizona definitely is. There just was not really a strong community there, partially because there's a lot of people that have second and third homes, and so they don't plant roots, you know, and so it just didn't have a strong sense of community. And 2, our life was very hectic. I was driving 45 minutes one way to work every day. You know, I was gone from the house 10 hours a day, and you know, Matt was working at the time, even right before we left, he was working 2 jobs, and it was just very hectic. I knew I wanted to, I've been an entrepreneur throughout my life. I knew I wanted to get back into something for myself, and we decided to do it in Idaho because, you know, there just wasn't the strong community that I wanted in southern Arizona.
We visited here a couple times while we lived in Arizona to visit her mom. And it was actually, she wanted to come back, but never said anything. We had just got married, so she didn't want to, you know, we just got married. She didn't want to rock the boat or, you know, potentially, you know, say something like, I want to move back to Idaho, and have me not want to do that. So fortunately, the second time we came, I said, I really love it here. We should move here. And she was like, oh my God, I've wanted to move back for quite some time, and I just didn't know how to tell you. And I was like, let's do it. So we basically made a plan to move in a year. And I got a second job basically, and we just saved up and just put our eyes on the prize and did it. Moved.
Yeah.
So when you first got here, Brandi, you had a publishing company in Arizona as well, right? And then you started that up over here. Is that what happened with your magazine?
No, I was actually doing marketing and paperwork for a high-end luxury real estate team. And another publisher, because we were franchise owners, another publisher came to me with his publication. And we knew we were moving, but of course my boss didn't know. We love them, but we didn't want to tell them. And so I took that home and looked at it. I mean, I loved the publication so much. It was like, this is checking all of my boxes. Just as a marketing standpoint, I was like, okay, it's reaching the right audience. It's going to them monthly. It has content they're going to read. I mean, I just really love this publication. And we ended up placing like a page and a half of ads in this publication. And then I went home and started researching the company and realized it was a franchise opportunity and that this was perfect for me. And I brought it to Matt and I said, this is what I want to do when we get to Idaho. And he's like, absolutely. And he said, let's do it. And so when we got here, I actually continued to work for my boss in Arizona, which we were not planning on it, but just by divine intervention, it worked out perfect. And I worked for him at night while I built the business in the day. I was working probably 50, 55, 60, I lost count. I was working all the time. And did that for about 7 months until we were ready to launch. And then I no longer had to work for the other business or the boss in Arizona.
Okay, so your magazine is called Eagle Life. And
yes.
You were running that for a while, right? And then Matt was doing something else. He was working, I think, at Whole Foods possibly, or just kind of different jobs and things like that. And then you decided that Matt should start a magazine too, right? So what's your magazine called?
So it's still both of ours. Brandi does most of the content. I do the sales. So Be Local is the other publication. And, like you said, Brandi had Eagle Life going for a little over a year. And I was growing disgruntled with my work at Whole Foods. And she came to me and, suggested that there's a product I could try out. And at first I was, I have never really done anything like that. So, generally your fear, pops up and that uncomfortableness. And you kind of want to do what's comfortable, even though it sucked at the time. But throughout the course of maybe the next month or so, I continued to not have a great experience at my job. So I decided to, let's try it out. And then I really just started psyching myself out, psyching myself up. I started, doing research on how to sell. I read a couple of books about it. I started listening to guys like Bob Proctor and just a lot of motivational stuff and trying to get myself in that headspace to believe I could actually do it. And then I went to training to learn how to sell it, and came back, and it was a slow start. And there was some times in that time frame before we launched the Be Local that I was, there's a couple times where I was doubting whether or not I should continue, but luckily, she's got a no give up, never give up, Goonies never say die attitude, and made it very clear that that's not an option. So I just kept going, and we launched it. So Be Local is basically it's a locals perspective guide, and it's written by people in the Treasure Valley to help new movers. It goes to every new homeowner in the Meridian, Eagle, and Star area, and they get it, and they move in about the first 6 weeks, and it's just it's got restaurant guides and shopping guides. It's really well put together publication, and it's just a way to help new people get acclimated to their new surrounding with tips from local people, basically kind of giving it a really local flavor and a trusted feel.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I met Brandi, because Brandi reached out to me on Instagram when I first started selling window coverings, and we ended up sitting down and having coffee and talking marketing. And it was more of a she was reaching out to me to see if I wanted to get ad space, but then I ended up trying to reap some more information from her. So we started to have this conversation, and it ended up being one of those things where it wasn't quite the right fit for me, but we stayed connected. And there's so many things that you're doing in addition to just the magazines, because they're so great. It's not like there's anyone moving to the Treasure Valley right now, right? They really need this information, and it's very helpful. So you were doing that, and you're doing some other things, and it feels like the serial entrepreneur thing is, my thoughts on it is like, we're always thinking, we're always trying to find a next move, we're always trying to find something, and we're willing to throw so many things out there. So what else are you doing besides the magazines?
Well, we also have a t-shirt line that we just launched in April. Yeah, stand up, short shirts off. And that's called Lamb Wolf Shack. And we got it obviously from our last names, the lamb and the wolf. And, t-shirts are something I've wanted to do for a long time. I've kind of been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. So I've had everything from boutiques, direct selling businesses. I've done independent consulting for folks. I used to work the craft fair syndicate. I mean, I've done a whole bunch of stuff, and my mind just never really stops. Right. It always is going, and I have to write things down, and I have notes in my phone and in notebooks and all sorts of places because it just keeps going. And so the Lamb Wolf Shack is kind of a combination of both of our ideas that we brought together to create a really fun apparel shop that helps raise the vibration, because that's really what we're all about, is just a lifestyle of love, raising the vibration. There's enough negative crap out there. We don't need it. It only hinders us. So we want people to feel good, be good when they put on something. We want them to just feel good in it and share that smile and walk with confidence, because when they do, they're going to make other people smile just by virtue of feeling good themselves. And so that's really, really what we're after. Everything that we're doing on our Lamb Wolf Shack is very positive and, just kind of inspired by something that makes us feel good. Mm-hmm. And I know that there's lots of other people out there that, share similar tastes. So that's what Lamb Wolf Shack is about. We have a web presence, and then since we're new, nobody really knows about us with Lamb Wolf Shack. So we are also going to be doing trade shows. So we'll be at the Eagle Market, Star. We're going to be in Star Market, Star Concert Series, Girls Day Out Shopping. I mean, we're going to be at all sorts of places over the next year, just having a booth and learning the ropes with, being out and about, kind of like a mini temporary store.
That's what's nice about having all those connections. You're in the know about where all those activities are, so you're able to capitalize on that, which is great. You have some great stuff. I really like the logo. I have one of the stickers. When I saw you put up the stickers, I'm like, I got to have that one. And it was the one with the lamb and the wolf on it, because you've got your wine and Matt's got his bourbon, and Matt and I both really like bourbon. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, it's a really cool looking sticker, but then you also have all the great shirts that have all the positive things on it. I like the one that says Posi Vibes on it. My buying style went from, hey, I'm wearing Nike everything, to finding stuff that has stuff on it like this, like bet on yourself, because that's what you got to do, And so I try and find those things. So it's really nice to see that. Like you said, there's so much negative crap going on right now in this world. We need some positive stuff. We need to push ourselves to the next level and know that there's more out there to it. No matter what side you're on, there's always a way to be positive. So that's a great message that you're bringing out. I appreciate that.
There's something, there's an energy that comes when you're wearing something that's resonating with you.
Right.
Like, we're super proud to put our clothing on because we know what it represents, and we think it's cool. That's a big part of it. We think it looks cool, but at the same time, we're trying to spread a message. And when you're walking around with that message basically, on you at all times, it's a really good feeling. And, we notice people looking at the stuff all the time, and it's just a cool feeling to have somebody, take that glance at whatever it is that you're wearing and go, I wonder what that is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a big fan of Trust Me Vodka, which you're wearing that hat right now, but I could see a really cool looking baseball hat with an LW on it. So we'll have to talk. I can help you with that logo.
Absolutely.
You need a hat line.
Yeah, there's lots of people that have liked that logo, the lamb wolf, just the idea of it. And we're thinking of some other things to do with the logo, having the lamb and the wolf in action doing stuff, and maybe some fun things, and just kind of build off of that, because we really think the logo is great, and the idea of it, and just we're trying to build that brand around that, and we have high hopes. That's
what building a brand is about, right? That's all there is to it. So we also have a podcast. We talked about it's a podcast live show, just like mine. And so let's talk about that a little bit. You have multiple pages for Facebook and Instagram and things like that. But right now, Discover Idaho is a big one. And you started the Idaho Spud Show to kind of talk with people around Idaho. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the idea with that is, it's supposed to be a podcast or a show that's basically about all things Idaho, people, places, and things. And that idea, obviously came about because we love Idaho and we think it's a great place. It has so much to offer. And so, through the people that we do know, we just started thinking, why don't we do a podcast where we have, people that we know that are business owners, entrepreneurs, and they can tell us a little bit about what they do, but also let's talk about those great things about Idaho, those places that maybe, while they were growing up, places that they frequent, or places that they frequent with their families now, so that people that maybe aren't from here or are from here can learn about someone else's story in Idaho, or someone that's maybe planning on moving here, or just looking at Idaho in general. We can give them some information about, some of the great places. They're just going to come here on a vacation. We just really wanted to showcase what Idaho has to offer, and we thought it would make a really interesting podcast to talk to people, about their experience in Idaho.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's so many great places in Idaho. People don't really. It's kind of one of those things where you don't really want to tell someone, but you also do want to tell someone because it's so great. People are like, you live in Iowa? What? No, we live in Idaho. The one up north on the left-hand side of the country, not in the middle of the right-hand side. Most people don't know what a map is anymore, and they get Iowa and Idaho mixed up all the time. There's another one, too. Ohio. There we go. Yeah. Yep. They're different. They're different places. Okay. So it's great to hear those stories. What's that, Matt?
Yeah. Well, I was saying when we were moving here, and I was telling people, where I was working, that we were moving to Idaho, a couple different people were like, that's in the Midwest, right? And I was like, no, that's Iowa. Idaho's in the Pacific Northwest. They're completely different. Iowa's flat. Idaho has. I was like, how do you not know this?
Right? How do you not know where Idaho is? It's a huge state.
Maybe I just
like Canada.
I might have just liked geography more than most people, I guess.
Yeah,
I knew all my state capitals.
I think that most of the kids nowadays are a little lost on where the map is. We got my daughter the big puzzle of the states, so she can go through and put them in order, so she knows where it's at. But well, that's great. It's the show is called the Idaho Spud Show, and it's brought to you by Discover Idaho. Which is, if you want to go check it out, where can we find that at? I know that it's scrolling across the bottom here, where you can watch it live.
So obviously you can find it on TV PBN, Television Public Broadcast Network. It's facebook.com/TV PBN. We're also on Instagram, Discover Idaho Podcast 2. And Facebook, Discover Idaho Vlog. We have a YouTube channel. It's Discover Idaho. Those are the places. We also are Lamb Wolf Shack on Instagram. LambWolfShack.com is our clothing or apparel website. I'm on at Real Conshus. She's on at Brandi.
No, don't do that
okay.
one. Yeah, I don't pay attention to the personal one. Yeah. So
I pay attention to the Real Conshus one. So
let's talk about that real quick, because we said rapper, but we didn't talk about the rapper. Tell us about this rapping situation that's going on here.
Oh, well, I've always been a fan of music in general, but hip hop is, for some reason, just really resonated with me. the whole culture, the dancing, the art, the, turntables, and, obviously writing lyrics and rhyming has always just really been something I really enjoyed. And I just like lyrics in general. And so, I had a love of hip hop for a really long time, but there was a lot of years of my life where I was not really connected to myself. I wasn't connected to this experience. I was off somewhere trying to figure things out. But when we got together, I started, just writing. I would write stuff and she would, that's really good. And then I continued to do it. Oh, that's really good. And then I continued to do it. And then, she bought me a couple of journals and booklets and stuff like that to start writing rhymes in. And so I started doing that, and I just started making little Instagram videos of me mostly doing a cappella stuff, like spoken word, I guess. It was kind of a rap, but it was not really to a beat. And just writing stuff down, through stuff about, what I went through, stuff about how I kind of perceive the world and how things are going. And and that's pretty much what I do. I write. I think now I've decided I might start leaning towards doing spoken word a little bit more, just because I feel like that's how I write. I connected with. I was watching a documentary and a young woman. She writes spoken word stuff too, and the way she was writing just sounded like how I write. Exactly the way that I write stuff, and I was like, maybe I should just do spoken word. And so I like both. Obviously, I actually have plans to go into the studio and finish a couple of songs that I was working on, and those are actual, hip hop songs. So, but yeah, that's just something I do, and obviously, it'd be great to get some positive attention for it, but it's fun to write and to put down ideas, and I'll just keep doing it no matter what.
Yep, I like it. You're going after what you are passionate about, and that's the way it is, right? That's what you need to do. Brandi, though, you wrote a book, right? When's that coming out?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's ready. It's ready. I'm waiting for copies to get to me so I can make sure they print okay. So it's about Hashimoto's. It's an autoimmune disease, which I have, and me and my girlfriend Dee Dee. She's in Arizona, and we wrote it together. And it's just a book about two women's journey, finding out how to navigate Hashimoto's without traditional medicine. So, so we're hoping it's going to be out here any day. It's actually available on Amazon, but we haven't promoted it or anything just because we need to see if it printed okay.
Well, that's great. So this is what I love about this. We talked about this quite a bit, how there is just so many different ways to get yourself out there, to sell yourself, to help other people. And that's what I love about this. And I love the connection that we have. It's just a great way to interact with other people and connect and do a lot of things where it's a positive, you're bringing a positive value to other people. So before, we talked about where we can find you. You got a book coming out. Matt's got some rapping coming out. We're going to be looking for that album, Matt. Get it going. We got the book is already out. What's the book called, Brandi?
It's Hashimoto's Journey. Basically the main title of that. Hashimoto's Journey.
So check that out. If you guys are looking for a book, maybe you suffer from that. Maybe you know someone who suffers from that, and you can help understand that a little bit better. But so we're going to go, this is the last question that we have every time we ask the same guest every single thing. I'm going to say the question one time, and then I'm going to ask, because this is the thing with success for me. It's called Shaping Success because it's different for everyone. And I want to see if there's any difference between the two of you. What is the difference between Matt's success and Brandi's success? What do you deem that? What do you think that is? So you guys can, paper, rock, scissors to see who goes first, or just decide, but what is the shape of your success?
Okay, well, I love that you do this, by the way.
You do?
Everybody, like you said, does have a different, I guess, idea of what success is. For me, basically just based on what I've come from and dealt with in my life, not taking any kind of chances or putting myself out there at all was pretty much how I led most of my life up until I met Brandi. So for me, success is... It's two. So it's two things. It's getting started, right? I love this quote, and I'm not sure whose quote it is, but you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. And so I think just starting, putting your effort into something and believing that you can do it and giving an effort. I know a lot of people will say, effort is not enough. You've got to be first or you're last, right? I don't believe in that. I think that if you actually put effort into something, whether you win or lose, you can take away that you obviously hopefully learn something from it and you can get better. Failure is a huge part of success. And I feel like I didn't realize that up until, just a few years ago that, most people that are very successful went through a lot before they became that. And the second part of it is I do think, success is putting that knowledge, that effort that you are just starting it and having something positive come out of it. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to reach 1 million people with your book or with your raps or whatever it is. But if you 10 people like it, you know what I mean? Like if you put something out there that's true to what you believe and you love to do and it reaches somebody or it makes you feel good and it makes someone else feel good. I feel like that's success, even if it's not, touching people on a large scale, which I've had to really accept, through doing Instagram raps and stuff like that. When I only get a couple of people liking it, no one comments on it, and you're super disappointed. But, at the same time, if somebody gives me a fire emoji, that's good. I should get value out of that and not worry about, whether or not 1 million people saw it or liked it, just getting the value out of it. And I'm writing it obviously so I can share it with somebody and so someone can feel something from it. And if somebody does, then I've really done what I wanted to do. So
yeah.
One person is all it takes, right? Just one person.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I love that. I think that is an awesome definition. So we're gonna switch it over a little bit here, Brandi, and now it's your turn.
Well, I would say shaping my success is Matt's right. Goonies never say die. You have to keep moving forward. If you have an idea, use it. It's not a bad idea. All these people, think about all the ideas out there in the world that have come to fruition, from chia pets to Teslas. There's so many wonderful ideas, but inaction is what stops most people. Taking steps every single day towards your goal is how you make it work. When eating an elephant, take small bites. Take a bite every single day. Take a step forward every single day. You have to keep moving forward and have very clear, precise goals. Matt and I are big goal setters. We have vision boards. We put our goals up. This is what we want to do. This is what we want to reach. This is how we're going to do it. And then we take steps every day towards those goals. And we revisit them often. If we need to change a goal, we change a goal. It doesn't matter. If we missed the mark, we missed it. Not a big deal. You just reevaluate what you're doing so you can keep moving towards the goal that you want to happen. So that's always been a really big part of my life, just to set those goals and move for them, because you have to know where you're going in order to get there. And somebody who I always remember this, the Harry Potter series, she wrote the first beginning and she wrote the end, and then she filled it in.
Oh man.
That's amazing. That's amazing. She took her idea, no matter all the naysayers. She was turned down over and over and over and over and over again. If you don't know her story, J.K. Rowling, if you don't know her story, go check it out, because it is inspirational. She didn't have money to put heat in her house, and so she'd go to the cafe to write. She was told no so much, but she just knew this was going to take off. She just knew it. You don't have to find a person to agree with you in the first 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30 people. If you know in your heart that this is a great idea, then just keep taking a step every single day towards your goal that you have designated, and it will come to fruition. It has to.
I love it. And the elephant analogy is just great. You can't eat it in one bite. You gotta take small bites. That's awesome. Well, it's great that you guys were on here. I love sharing stories with people, and you have a great one. I look forward to this relationship growing and seeing what happens with everything that you're doing. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks so much, Wes.
And we've enjoyed watching you grow, this podcast, man. And we're excited to see where you go as well. So
we're cheering you on.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. I know you're there in my corner. So, all right, everyone. Well, that is the end of the show. I want to say thank you for taking the time to tune in. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.